Why is it said that the most terrifying era in Earth's history was not when the dinosaurs went extinct, but rather an age whose very name reeks of death? Back then, there was absolutely nothing on land. The ground was completely covered in magma, with temperatures reaching 1,700 degrees Celsius. The sky was a toxic orange-red. A day lasted only 6 short hours. Every less than 100 years, asteroids equivalent to nuclear bombs would strike. The most violent impact even knocked a moon out of Earth. No life could survive there for even 0.1 seconds. This period is called the Hadean, but you would never guess that right in this hellish era, a rain that lasted tens of millions of years would later fall. And what fell was not ordinary water, but acid. How terrifying was this rain? Imagine this. You stand outside, and looking up, you see not raindrops, but boiling sulfuric acid raining down from the sky. Each drop could corrode steel. This rain lasted a full 10 million years, not stopping for a single day. Even more bizarrely, this rainwater never reached the ground because the ground temperature was too high. The raindrops evaporated into steam while still in midair, then condensed into clouds, and then rained down again. The entire planet was trapped in a maddening cycle. The sky was forever shrouded in orange-red. The air was filled with toxic gases. Methane, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia. Each one could easily take your life. Back then, Earth's surface was an ocean of magma, more than 1,000 kilometers deep. The temperature was absurdly high. Scientists recreated the scene in the lab. They heated rocks to 1,700 degrees Celsius and watched them flow like liquid. That's how you realize how insane Earth was back then. But the most despairing question is, how did such an extreme environment come to be? The answer lies in a cosmic collision 4.5 billion years ago. At that time, the solar system was less than 100 million years old, full of unformed planetary embryos racing across orbits. They collided with each other like billiard balls. Earth was one of them. It was only half its current size, slowly absorbing surrounding material to grow. Suddenly, a Mars-sized planet slammed straight into Earth at 10 kilometers per second. Scientists named this unlucky impactor Thea. The energy released in that instant was equivalent to 10 billion Hiroshima atomic bombs exploding simultaneously. The entire surface of Earth was instantly blasted into magma. Thea's core plunged directly into Earth's interior, merged with the Earth's core. Its mantle shattered into countless fragments, scattering across the cosmos. Those fragments gradually coalesced over the next few hundred million years, eventually forming the moon we see today. The moon you see tonight is actually the debris of a shattered Earth. After the impact, Earth turned into a blazing fireball, its entire surface covered in magma, over 1,700 degrees Celsius. There was no solid ground, no liquid oceans, only a churning inferno. And Earth was spinning at a staggering rate back then, a day lasting only 6 hours. That means by the time you woke up and had lunch, it was already dark. The entire planet whirled like a top. But the hellish scene was far from over, because back then, the solar system was littered with asteroids, hitting Earth one after another like raindrops. Scientists call this period the Late Heavy Bombardment. Roughly between 4.1 billion and 3.8 billion years ago, an asteroid struck Earth every few decades. The largest among them were over 100 kilometers in diameter. The impact energy was enough to vaporize entire oceans. You might ask, where did oceans come from back then? The answer is from the asteroids that hit Earth. They came from the outer solar system, carrying vast amounts of ice. When they struck Earth, the ice melted into water, slowly forming the first oceans. But the problem was, before this water could settle, the next impact would vaporize it. The entire Hadean eon passed in this cycle of water arriving and being vaporized and then condensing and then being scattered again. A repetitive process slowly playing out. What is most incredible is that under such extreme conditions, life somehow emerged. That is right. You heard correctly. Scientists have found zircon crystals dating back 4.4 billion years in Western Australia. Inside these crystals, they detected abnormal ratios of carbon isotopes. Such abnormalities can only be caused by biological activity. So what does that imply? It implies that near the end of the Hadean eon, about 3.8 billion years ago, life may have already existed on Earth. And at that time, Earth was still being continuously bombarded by asteroids, with oceans repeatedly boiling and condensing. How did life possibly emerge in such an environment? Scientists have proposed a bold hypothesis called the deep-sea hydrothermal vent theory. On the ocean floor of the Hadean eon, countless hydrothermal vents dotted the seabed, spewing scorching water from deep within the Earth's crust. Temperatures reached over 300 degrees Celsius, but due to the immense water pressure, the water does not boil and instead remains liquid. These hot springs are rich in hydrogen sulfide, methane, and metal ions. These chemicals mix together and trigger complex chemical reactions, gradually forming organic compounds, then amino acids, and finally simple life forms. Yet this is not the most astonishing part. What is truly surprising is that early life may have had no need for oxygen at all, because the atmosphere of Mingguzhou had almost no oxygen, only carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen. These primitive life forms survived on chemical energy, feeding on hydrogen sulfide and methane, and excreting sulfuric acid and carbon dioxide. They hid near deep-sea hydrothermal vents, escaping asteroid bombardments from the sky, and tenaciously managed to survive. Mingguzhou lasted for 600 million years, and during this time another strange event occurred. 4.2 billion years ago, the Earth's crust began to solidify, and the first continent emerged. But at that time, the continent was just a few scattered rocky islands, floating on a scorching ocean, liable to be melted by the next impact at any moment. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was washed into the ocean by acid rain, and its concentration plummeted from 90 to 30%. The greenhouse effect weakened rapidly, and the Earth's surface temperature dropped sharply from 1000 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. Sounds good, right? But scientists discovered a terrifying truth. If the cooling had been just a little faster, the entire ocean would have frozen into ice, and Earth would have turned into a snowball. Life, before it could even begin to evolve, would have frozen to death. Even more frightening is that if the asteroid bombardments had ended just 100 million years later, those newly born life forms, each time they had just barely evolved some complex structures, would have been wiped clean by the next impact, forever trapped in a single-celled state. The timing of Mingguzhou was perfectly precise. Whether a bit earlier or a bit later, you would not exist. 4 billion years ago, Mingguzhou officially ended, but the traces it left behind can still be seen today. Look up at the moon, and those dense craters are the scars of that bombardment. Why doesn't Earth have them? Because Earth has atmospheric protection, and the influence of plate tectonics erased all traces. But if you could go 40 kilometers deep underground, the rocks there still retain the memory of that ancient bombardment. Finally, let me tell you something even more bone-chilling. In 2023, scientists used supercomputers to simulate the formation of Earth 100,000 times. The results showed, in 99.7% of the scenarios, Earth either became a lifeless planet like Mars, or turned into an atmosphere full of toxic gas like Venus. Only a 0.3% chance evolved into what it is today. You survived, purely because that cosmic collision 4.6 billion years ago hit just right. The rain fell just right. The cooling rate was just right. The asteroid stopped in just the right place. The ground beneath your feet was solidified from magma at 1700 degrees. Every breath of air you take was filtered from a toxic orange-red sky. Every drop of water you drink was originally ice carried by asteroids. Mingguzhou tells us over 600 million years. Life doesn't need a perfect cradle. It only needs one chance. Even if that chance lies hidden in the deepest hell, as long as there is a single crack, it will desperately break through the soil. This is Mingguzhou, the most terrifying beginning of Earth, and the entire reason you exist in this world.